Sanjaya speaks. Sanjaya, introspection, then describes the scene he beholds with his distant vision, beginning with the army led by Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra's son. Sanjaya tells how Duryodhana, on beholding the Pandava forces range against him, repairs anxiously to Drona, his preceptor, habit or samskara, past tendencies, and seek his encouragement and reassurance. The Bhagavad Gita takes us immediately to meditation as the shortest route to God. Naturally, when the devotee first sits for meditation, all his old worldly tendencies swirl up like material desire, rouse themselves in protest. Duryodhana, King Material Desire, notes fearfully the enemy's power which stands range against his army. Dhristadyumna, the calm inner light, the son of Drupata, extreme dispassion, is a brother student of his under Drona, and is the first one to range the Pandava forces to battle array. Dhristadyumna it is who finally slays Drona, not in his role of guru but as the influence of past habit. Dhristadyumna is also described, however, as the skilled disciple of Drona, for the calm inner light is seen only after repeated meditative practice, resulting in the meditative habit. Duryodhana is not prepared to see range against him so many disciples of Drona, his guru, whom he hopes to see lead his forces of material desire to victory. It should be emphasized that the Bhagavad Gita plunged right from the beginning into the inner life of meditation, which it becomes clear bit by bit is for everyone. This is not a scripture or pious platitude. It urges people from the very beginning to seek deep soul communication through direct inner experience of God. Duryodhana goes on to lament his perception that many other great warriors are ranged against him, warriors as fear-inspiring as the Pandava brothers Bhima and Arjuna. Fearfully he lists some of those who are most prominent among them. Next, he seeks courage by listing the warriors on his own side. They consist of Drona, habit; Bhisma, the essential self or ego; Karna, attachment; and other too numerous to list in this exposition, which only concerns the Gita itself, not the Mahabharata. Duryodhana then said, our forces protected by Bhisma are difficult to count because so numerous, whereas their forces defended by Bhima are easy to count. Encouraged by his superior forces, Duryodhana exhorts his troops to gather round Bhisma and protect him. As long as one's essential sense of individuality is safe, such is the belief of King Material Desire, their cause is secure. Meditation, however, takes one's consciousness into inner realms where the grip of separate consciousness begins to loosen. The breath itself becomes calm and the energy begins to withdraw from the senses. Then Grandsire Bhishma, with a view to encouraging Duryodhana, blows his corns with a loud lion-like roar. The meaning here is fascinating. Bhishma's corns is the breath. When ego feels its consciousness of individuality slipping away in deep meditation and even more in approaching breathlessness, it suddenly thinks, wait, what about me? Ego is the linchpin. It holds material desire in place. Ego may be described as the center of the vortex around which all material desire revolves. Sudden recollection of one's accustomed reality, the body, and of desirableness of the material world cause subconscious habit to activate the sense of I-ness. At that moment, the strong inhalation of breath is suggested by the loud lion-like roar of Bhisma's corns, which returns the meditating devotee to outward consciousness. Swami Sri Yukteswar likened the mind of men to a little bird that has been kept in a cage for 20 years. If you open the door of the cage, the bird will cower at the back, fearful of the threats seeming to beckon. The vast open sky, where it was designed by nature to fly, after a time the bird may hop tentatively outside the cage, but it will hurry back almost immediately, fearful of this experience of freedom for which habit has made it unprepared. Only gradually, by longer and longer sorties, will the little bird stand at last outside its cage, rustle its wing, and after a further pause, fly up freely into the sky. Stanza 13 described the response of the other Kuru soldiers to Bhisma's guns: drums, tabors, cow horns, trumpets. This signifies not only the sense-transmitted noises of the surrounding world, but the inner reawakening of physical sound, the thumping of the heart, the rush of the blood in the veins within the ears, and the other familiar bodily sound. In answer to the leer and agitation of material sound, the inner world calls then to the devotee, insistently with the alluring music. The sound of a honeybee, for example, emanating from the Muladhara chakra or Cochin's center, when the energy is stimulated at that point to rise upward in the spine. Krishna's flute, the sound emanating from the Swadhisthana chakra or sacral center, the sweet sound of the harp emanating from the Manipura chakra or lumbar center, the deep bell sound of the Anahata chakra or heart center, the soothing and expansive sound like soft wind in the tree or like distant thunder emanating from the Visuddha chakra or cervical center, and above all, pranaba, the mighty sound of Om, of which more will be written later. This mighty sound pierces the heart of material desire and his supporting army, causing great consternation. At this point, Arjuna, he whose flag bears the monkey emblem, lifts up his bow and addresses a request to Krishna, his charioteer. The bow, as we have seen, symbolizes the spine. The monkey is a symbol of the restlessness raging. The monkey emblem signifies that Arjuna had brought his restless mind under control and is able to commune consciously with the Lord Krishna. O changeless Krishna, he said, as I mentioned earlier, please direct my chariot between the two armies that I may see them range against one another and know better with whom I must fight. We see here also quite clearly that Gita is allegorical. From what army general on the very eve of battle would he be so foolish as to ask to be driven between the two armies for a better glimpse of the enemy? The most that a general would ask if he wanted such a view would be to be taken on a high hilltop or some other point from which he would see without exposing himself to the danger of enemy arrows, spear, and other projectiles. There is a beautiful story of how Krishna came to be Arjuna's charioteer. Arjuna and Duryodhana went separately to Krishna to try to enlist his help in the forthcoming war. Krishna was asleep, so they waited patiently. Duryodhana seated by Krishna's head, Arjuna at his feet. When Krishna awoke, he found them both there. To be fair, therefore, he gave them a choice: either the help of his entire army or himself, inactive in battle and giving only advice. Arjuna was given first choice, since on waking Krishna has seen him first. Arjuna first Arjuna chose Krishna. Even though he would be inactive on the battlefield, Duryodhana the materialist was well content with having a whole army of which he himself would in any case be the general. Krishna became Arjuna's charioteer. Symbolically, what the chariot represents is the human body, the horses representing the five senses. In fact, there are five subtle senses also: hearing and the power of hearing, seeing and the power of seeing, and so on. Arjuna invited the Lord to guide the chariot of his life, holding the rein of his senses and steering his course through the coming battle. Thus, the devotee must also try to see God alone as the doer of his action. Driving the chariot of spiritual endeavor between the two armies signifies the withdrawal of energy into the spine, and the awareness of which comes to the meditating devotee that there are actually two forces within him vying together to draw him in opposite direction, both downward and upward. The purpose of meditation, according to yoga practice, is to raise the energy in the spine. In so doing, to transfer all the lower energy into the higher energies in the spine, and finally then to focus them at the point between the eyebrows, uniting them ultimately with the highest pole in the body at the top of the head, the Sahasrara. Arjuna, as Krishna, and he passed between the army, is filled with grief as he realized that he must fight against and actually kill people so closely related to him, his cousins, uncles, grandfather, father-in-law, and also his friends and his esteemed preceptor. His mighty bow slips from his grasp, signifying that he can no longer hold a firm meditative pose. How can I fight this people, all of them dear to me, even if they desire to slay me? I cannot commit the great sin of fighting against them. He goes on in his vein, pleading the cause of ahimsa, harmlessness, to justify his own unwillingness to proceed with the war. Dropping his bow and sitting back in his chariot, his eyes bedeemed with tears, he cries at last, I will not fight. The first chapter of Gita and the beginning of the second portray his discouragement.